And that brings us to our final game of the week. And I know Brad's excited about this kickoff time. The Texas Tech Red Raiders hit the road to head out to Tucson, Arizona. So many country songs written about this town. I love it. To take on the Arizona Wildcats. This is an 11 o'clock Eastern Time p.m. That's right, 11 p.m. Eastern Time kickoff on Fox. Arizona currently favored by 6 in this one. And Brad, you have to think that's home field advantage and the fact that probably half of America will be asleep by that time. I'll turn it over to you. Two prominent programs in the Big 12, two teams fighting for a Big 12 championship spot. And shame on ESPN again. This should have been a college game day game too. 4-1 versus 3-1. And I think both of these teams deserve more credit than what they've been given. I'll turn it over to you, Brad. Thoughts on this game and who comes out on top in Tucson?
Nate, it's funny. I take it you don't like the college game day pick this week with Miami.
No, it's terrible.
No, you brought up this is 11 p.m. kickoff. We're here in the East Coast, so I guess I'm gonna be drinking some coffee late because I'm staying up to watch this one, and I'm gonna have Miami. I'm gonna have Miami Cal on as well. But
absolutely,
yeah, I'm excited about this one. I mean, we're talking about a very, very big game in the Big 12, and I'm a huge fan of Joey McGuire and what he's done with this Texas Tech program. Excuse me, their quarterback, Baron Morton, has had a tremendous year, 14 touchdowns and just 2 picks. He's been great, but Nate, Taj Brooks is just such a physical runner. He's just such a good fit for this Texas Tech offense, and I'm impressed. But, Nate, I got to talk about Arizona. Arizona was such an intriguing team for me coming into the year. I thought they were a little bit of a dark horse in the Big 12, and to an extent they still are because – they had a tremendous year last year, and what happens? Jed Fish goes up to Washington, and Brent Brennan, I think, has done a great job. Of course, a couple weeks ago, they were blown out on a Friday night against Kansas State, and everyone's thinking, okay, Arizona, they're going to have an okay year, but they're going to be brought down to earth. And what happens? They go last week into Utah, into Rice-Eccles Stadium, and I know Utah was without Cam Rising, but Nate, Utah's a good program. I mean, let's take nothing away, and that is a tough place to play.
absolutely.
And what does Arizona do? They get an upset over a very, very good Utah team, and that to me sets up. I mean, I think Arizona has got a legit chance to win the Big 12 now, and I think they have a legit chance to be the college football representative. You look at after this, and not to jump ahead too much because I know we're talking about this game, but after this, they've got BYU next week, which that's going to be a fantastic one. And Nate, to me, the schedule is very, very manageable. So, Nate, this one comes down to, and it's just simply, I think Arizona's defense is rolling. They struggled week 1 against New Mexico. They gave up 39 points, and Avery Johnson in Kansas State really toasted them. But I think this Arizona defense is starting to come along. And then you talk about my favorite quarterback wide receiver duo in the country, Noah Fafita and Tatoria McMillan. I hope I pronounced that right. But Nate, we just got done, a couple of games ago talking about Luther Burden. If Luther Burden's the best receiver in America, or probably the number one likely receiver to go in the draft next year, McMillan might be number 2. This guy's big. He's physical. He's a great route runner. He's got good speed. I mean, 29 catches, 503 yards, and just unbelievable. And this one simply comes down to Arizona's got this unbelievable 1-2 punch. Conley has been he's been a serviceable running back. I think this Arizona passing attack and this offense is way too much. And I think Texas Tech is going to score, but I think they're not going to be able to keep up with Arizona. Look at Texas Tech. They gave up 51 to Abilene Christian, 41 last week to Cincinnati. Washington State put 37 on them. I think that this Wildcat offense is just too much. I think Arizona, like I said, with that upset win last week, their season's almost, they've just got all this confidence and momentum. I'm taking the Wildcats by double digits in this one.
Wow, Brad. Wow. As George Strait said, I think this is how the song goes. I left out Tucson with no destination in mind. Probably one of my favorite songs of all time. But shout out George Strait, King George, one of the best in country music. But for this game in Tucson, you bring up great points. These two teams are very familiar with each other. Now, they've met 33 times throughout their history, but only once since 1990, and that matchup came in 2019 where the Red Raiders beat Arizona 28-14 in Tucson, Arizona. Now, at that point, you got Texas Tech in the Big 12, Arizona in the Pac-12. So that was a pretty cool, exciting matchup for both teams. Now they're both facing each other in the Big 12 conference, looking to bounce back. And I say bounce back, catapult their way forward. We both picked Texas Tech last week against Cincinnati, and Texas Tech barely slipped out at the end. I don't want to say lucky in Cincinnati. Cincinnati's a great team. But yeah, to your point, they're giving up a lot of defense. And since Joey McGuire became the head coach at Texas Tech, they're 3-9 on the road. They struggle on the road, and I don't know why that is. Arizona, even under their new head coach, since last season, has gone 7-1 at home. Then they find themselves in a late night matchup, which I think favors them in so many different ways, including the time change. I get it. It's not that big of a time change when you look at Lubbock versus Tucson, but it's still a late kickoff nonetheless. And with that being said, if it comes down to what I think it's going to come down to, and that's who outscores who, I got to go with the Arizona Wildcats. I think for one, you take the over in this game. I think this is going to be a high-scoring affair. I think both teams are probably going to put up at least 30 to 40 points apiece, if I had to guess. And I could be way wrong. Maybe this ends up being a defensive game that both teams probably score in the 20s. But if it goes the way it should go, it's going to be a score fest. If you like to see high, fast, flashy offenses go at it, tune in 11 p.m. on Saturday night in Tucson. Give me the Arizona Wildcats in a close one. I think Texas Tech does keep it close, but I just think Arizona comes out in a close one on top. I think being at home, having a high-flying offense, to your point with McMillan, and they have a tight end. I want to give him a shout-out real quick because he is the client of a buddy of mine, and that is Keon Burnett, the tight end for the Arizona Wildcats. He's starting to make a few plays in that offense. So give me the Arizona Wildcats in a close one. Let us know down in the comments who you think is going to come out on top in this Big 12 matchup in Tucson, Arizona. We'll see you next week. It's time to break the huddle. Hey, YouTube, be sure to subscribe down below. Give this video a like and share it with your friends. We'll see you next week. It's time to break the huddle.